Welcome to Tracking the Wolves. I'm Blake Day with NSU Athletics. Let's get some past results. First of all, for the women's basketball team, they had a really solid showing this past weekend as they picked up their 7th straight conference victory. On Friday night, they beat Minnesota State Mankato 79-63, which included a 50-point second-half effort. On Saturday night, the Wolves women's team knocked off Concordia St. Paul in a tight one, 61-59. The win now moves NSU to 12-2 overall and 8-2 in conference play. The NSU men's basketball team, they lost a tough one on Friday night to 12th ranked Minnesota State Mankato 91-80. Tyden Stortson led the Wolves with a career-high 20 points in the loss, and he also had a career-high 7 rebounds in the game. On Saturday night, the Wolves bounced back. They had a nice 83-75 victory over Concordia St. Paul. Trent Zomer led the Wolves with 19 points in the contest, and Tyden Stortson also chipped in with 15 points and a team-high 4 assists. Now, the win improves Northern to 12-4 overall and 7-3 in conference play. The Northern State wrestling team, they dropped their conference opening duel on Saturday night to Minnesota State Moorhead, 27-16. Now, for the Wolves, Blake Lundgren, he continued a good weekend for the Wolves at 165 pounds, picking up his 2nd pin of the week. Sean Havlovic at 157 pounds won by major decision 13-3. Cody Vogelai at 133 pounds and Joe Gomez at 197 pounds also picked up victories on Saturday for the Wolves. And we will be right back with an interview with head women's coach Kurt Fredrickson, as well as NSU student athletes Rachel Krogman and Mercedes Stotesbury.
NCAA championships are something special.
Filled with memories we will carry with us for the rest of our lives.
We ask that you cheer hard for your institutions.
Acting responsibly and courteously towards those around you.
In the spirit of sportsmanship, enjoy the game, and let's provide our student athletes, coaches, officials, and fellow fans the respect they deserve.
Welcome to this portion of Tracking the Wolves. I'm Associate Athletic Director Zach Flackus, and today my guest is NSU head women's basketball coach Kurt Fredrickson. How you doing today, Coach?
Doing well.
I heard you just talking about archery season is about ending. You still got a few days left in you, or is that about done?
That's about done. I gave it my best shot. There's, I think, 1 day left in the season, and with 30-mile-an-hour winds, I don't think I'll probably get out.
Well, in the 34 years or 35th year of coaching at Northern, I think there's one consistent thing. You like to hunt, you like to coach basketball. So I suppose we'll skip the hunting portion today and just get into basketball.
That'd be good.
Okay. Coach Boy, your team's on a roll. You guys have been playing extremely well, really for quite some time now. Are you kind of getting your players positioned where you feel comfortable with who's on the floor together?
Yeah, I think we have. We've been going with the freshman point guard for, every game. She started every game since the start of the year, and typical freshman, she's had her ups and downs, and I think she's a lot better shooter than what she's shown in games. She hits those shots in practice, so some of her teammates have been carrying her a little bit or picking her up, I should say. But she's handling herself well on the floor for a freshman and has picked up our offensive schemes pretty well. And, and then we bring Kara Hofschild off the bench, our junior guard, and then she's kind of the stabilizing force a little bit when she comes out on the floor. So those two have made a good combination at the point guard spot. Your
team right now is 12-2 on the year as an overall record. you've got a lot of returning veterans. I know you've only got 2 seniors on your team, but you've got a lot of juniors that have played a lot of minutes. When the season started, especially when you're starting a true freshman in Paige Witasic at point guard, did you expect your team to get stronger and stronger as the season wore on, or did you know right away that, boy, this is going to be a pretty good group of athletes?
Well, we had a pretty good year last year. We won 16 games last year with pretty much the same players when a lot of them were sophomores. And so obviously we had some high hopes for this season, with our players being a year older and a year better, hopefully. And you throw some extra talent into that, like a Paige Witasic, and hopefully you're going to be better. And so we've been progressively getting better, I think, the more comfortable she feels a little bit at the point guard position. We've had different people have different games, big games at different times, and that's what you need to have if you're going to have a good basketball season.
Well, and once again, the NSIC is proving to be an extremely tough conference, top to bottom. There are just not that many weak teams when you look at it. This last weekend, I know you end up facing 2 ranked opponents. You're playing Concordia, St. Paul, and Mankato on the same weekend, especially with your type of offense where you're really kind of setting up plays specifically to a defense. Is that a little bit of a challenge when you've got 2 really good opponents the same weekend?
It really depends on the style of defense they play. Obviously, Mankato plays a little bit more aggressive style than Concordia does. They're fronting post players, and when post players get fronted, you can't kind of run some normal things that you'd like to run, so you have to make adjustments. You have to make adjustments with back cuts to the basket and how to lob the ball to a post instead of just enter it from the wing. So there's some adjustments that way. Concordia on Saturday decided to take a little different route and really played off our point guard position. Every time our point guard would pass the ball to somebody, that point guard's defensive man would just go sit in the middle of the lane, and made it really hard for Rachel Krogman and some of our other big kids. And I think Paige ended up 3 for 13 that night, 3 for 11 from the three-point line. I think Kara was 0 for 3. So until we hit a little bit better percentage from that position, we're probably going to see a few more defenses like that. So it was like night and day, the difference between the way Mankato played us and the way Concordia played us. And, we adjusted to both. We got the lead in both games. We were able to hold on, especially Saturday night, against Concordia and win the thing.
Well, and like I said, when you look at these teams and the caliber they were playing, on Friday, especially playing Mankato, boy, your defense just really smothered them. You guys are leading our conference or near the top in the amount of points you give up in a game, meaning you guys play extremely good defense. What's the key to your defense this year?
Well, we've got a lot of length. We play a little bit different style of defense than a lot of teams. We play more of a sagging defense, a helping defense. We don't give up a lot of easy shots, easy points to the other teams. You got Mutualer out there at 6'1" who can guard a guard, and then you got 2 6'1", 6'2" girls on the inside. Teams don't get a lot of second shots against us, for one thing, because of our rebounding. And, like I said, team-wise, our team defensive concept has been good. You get Allie Kusler out there who's been a senior, and they understand what we're trying to do. And, when you get the ball in the lane, you're going to have 4 arms at 6'2" looking at you. So it's not easy for other teams to score against us, and one of the reasons is because of our length.
Well, and you talk about some of that length in your inside game. This last weekend, actually, Sadie Sotsbury was the NSIC Basketball Player of the Week. I think she averaged a double-double, might have had 18 and 13 on one night and 14 and 10 or whatever it was on the other night. But what's it mean when you can have both that combination of that length on defense but being able to put the ball in the hole like Sadie does?
Well, it's huge. And, we didn't expect Sadie to put up that kind of numbers this year, but, we expected her to play a little bit better maybe than she had been. And maybe this last weekend will really give her a shot of confidence in what she can do. Because a lot of times Krogman draws a crowd. Sometimes Sadie's man is half guarding Rachel and half guarding Sadie, and she made them pay for it this weekend. I think she had maybe 16 and 9 on Friday night and 18 and 14 on Saturday night against Concordia. But, getting that kind of point production from that position and rebounding, that's really where we need her to help us, is in that rebounding area. It was just huge for us to get that play from her, and because of that, she was named NSIC Player of the Week, our first of the year.
Well, and when you look at the length she's got, her getting 13, 14 rebounds a game, but yet she's still got the ability to hit that outside shot, as does Megan. I think you've got a lot of girls that got some height that can really expand the court on offense. I mean, is that a conscious recruiting effort, or do you just go out and try to find good athletes?
Well, we try to find good athletes. Megan was a center in high school, and we've kind of converted her to a little bit more of a perimeter forward, but she still has those center skills. And we try to take advantage of that a little bit when we try to post her up with somebody smaller and so on. Well, now what we're getting is every time Rachel and Megan touch the ball on the inside, they've got 2 or 3 people on top of them. And now is where we have to hit that mid-range shot. Allison and Paige and Sadie, because they're getting a lot of 15-foot looks with the way teams are starting to defend us. And, we're just going to have to keep hitting some shots from the outside to try to keep the defense honest.
Our season, I don't know how the basketball schedules got worked this year, but it seems like we'll have a 4-game stretch on the road, 4-game stretch at home. You're going into a 4-game stretch on the road, and then in the last month of the season, it seems like we play a lot more games at home. You're going up to Crookston, Bemidji this weekend, then you've got St. Cloud and Duluth the following weekend. Tough 4-game road stretch for you?
It is. It's funny how teams match up with other teams and how well they play against each other. Right now, Crookston and Bemidji, I think, are both 3-7 in the North. And I'll tell you what, I watched the tapes, and Crookston was ahead of us here early in the year with 3 minutes to go. And we ended up winning by 4. And Bemidji, we had them down, and they came back and got within 4 or 5 at the end of the game. And they've both beaten us, I think, every year the last 3 or 4 years. So these two teams, even though their records aren't great, they find a way to play good against us, and that's what we're looking at this weekend. We play them at their place, and we know how good they're going to play against us.
Well, and that's part of our conference, is just so tough top to bottom. Some schools may not have great records, but they're just good basketball teams. I think the men saw that this last weekend when they play Mankato and Concordia, and Concordia is a very average team on paper. Boy, they're just athletic. I think you're seeing more athleticism in women's basketball also. Do you remember that from 20 years ago? Were the girls as athletic as they are now?
That's really hard to tell, but what we are seeing is a lot of purity. You talk about purity in the NFL. Well, we've really got it on the women's side. I mean, you look in that North Division, and the top 4 or 5 teams have beaten each other. You look at the South, and Wayne kind of sticks out by themselves, but then you got Concordia, you got Mankato, you've got Augustana right there with 3, 4, 5 losses already. And we're just halfway through the conference season. So, this weekend, I think Wayne and Augustana go play at Concordia and Mankato. I mean, probably 4 of the tougher teams in our league are playing against each other this weekend, and somebody's going to lose some games. Well, that doesn't look good on your 1-loss record come regional ranking time here in a week or so.
Well, and I don't know when the first regional ranking comes out. It's got to be coming up pretty good. But like you said, in that South Division, there's 16 teams in our conference. In that South Division, it does look like Wayne kind of sticks out. I had thought they graduated that really good guard they had. Do they just restock the shelves, or?
Well, they've got a really good forward center, and she scores a lot of points for them. They've got all starting 3 perimeter people back from last year. They lost their starting center, but they do a great job. It isn't. I don't think it's that Wayne scores so many points; is that you just can't score against them because of the way they play their 2-3 zone. So if they score 55 or 60 points, they got a great chance to win the game. And in college, that probably doesn't take a lot anymore. But it's really different, I think, from the North and the South. The North, you have a lot more balance, where 6 can beat 1 and 5 can beat 3 on any given night. In the South, you've got kind of the big 4 there with Augustana and Wayne and Mankato, and so on. And then you've got 3 or 4 teams on the bottom that haven't had a lot of success. So there's a lot more of a breakup in the South on the women's side than there is in the North.
Well, our conference tournament will be at the end of the year. All the teams are going to qualify. Northern's looking to get that first home round victory, and if things continue to go the way they are, we'll be moving on that conference tournament. But it's just nice to see the level of basketball that we've got on the women's side. We've always had a good basketball, and I think people are just starting to get to see more and more of it all the time.
I think we've got a fun team to watch. I think people like watching us play, and we've got some pretty talented individuals, and we got 1 or 2 kids on the bench that haven't had much of an opportunity. When you've got media timeouts at 15, 10, and 5 every half, you don't have to rest people and you don't have to play as many people as you did in the past unless somebody gets in foul trouble. So that's why you're seeing probably not a lot as much substitution in general on both the men's and women's side than you have in the past, is because of all the media timeouts we have.
Coach, I know you got a big road trip this weekend and the following weekend, so I'm going to let you get preparing for it. This has been Tracking the Wolves with Associate Athletic Director Zach Flackus and Head Women's Basketball Coach Kurt Fredrickson. Thank you very much.
We know you want family-friendly sporting events.
Sporting events where you can be comfortable
and entertained in a positive environment. Watching great individuals and teams compete.
with commitment, effort, and good sportsmanship. That's what the Division II Game Environment Initiative is about.
Be a part of the excitement and find out why. These student athletes say with pride,
I chose
Division II.
And welcome back to Tracking the Wolves. Today we have two special guests with us from the NSU women's basketball team. We have junior Rachel Krogman and junior Mercedes Stotesbury as well. So ladies, first of all, thank you for joining us today and getting ready to talk some women's basketball here. First of all, congrats on the pretty successful season so far. We're 12-2 overall, 8-2 in the conference, so a nice start to play. 7-0 at home. So obviously we'll get into that factor as well of what's it like playing in Walks Arena. Is there a different dynamic to it? That obviously we've had some good success so far, and I believe we've also got Mercedes has an honor this week of being named the NSIC Player of the Week, which congrats on that. That's a huge honor, and we can maybe touch on that a little bit too if you want to talk about that. But I think let's start out just kind of talk about the season itself. We start off the season on the road with School of Mines, Black Hills State on the road, and then Central Methodist and Mayville State at home. So 4 non-conference games. I guess just kind of talk about the early season, games of non-conference. Just kind of touch on that, I guess, to start out. Rachel.
Well, I think the first few games of the season are always fun because it's like we're finally back into the swing of things. And the trip out to the hills for me, is always fun. I have family out there, so it's kind of like a little reunion. And it's always getting over those nerves the first few games, and so that's always exciting to see what the team is going to be like.
Absolutely. And I think with the men's team, when we talked to Titan last time, the men have a lot of new faces. They lost a lot of starters. You guys return a lot. We lose 2 seniors, and really Paige Votashik as a freshman, really about the only true new face in there. So kind of, Mercedes, talk about that a little bit of, you're all so familiar with each other. Is there still kind of a learning curve early on, or is it just, is it still feel pretty familiar, I guess?
Yeah, it's definitely a learning just to play with a new point guard, a new leader on the team, but she's getting used to it and she's getting better with the whole swing of things.
All right. Well, let's talk about that 7-0 home record, I guess. What's it like for you to, is there a difference in Walks Arena? Obviously we hear about the attendance numbers being a pretty big discrepancy between playing here. Obviously we've led Division II in attendance 6 years in a row. What's it like playing at home? What's special about it to you guys? Is there a difference? Do you feel a difference versus on the road? I guess we'll ask both of you, and we'll let Rachel answer first on that.
I love playing here. We have a pretty good following no matter where we go in the conference, but to play at home, one, we don't have to travel. We're right in town. There's so many familiar faces every game that we play, and even when I'm just out at Walmart or something, I see someone say a good game to me. So I love the experience of being in the Walks Arena and playing and being in front of our home crowd.
Yeah, pretty much the same thing. The atmosphere is just really good, and being at an away game is just totally different than being at a home game because the crowd has just always got your back.
All right. And then as we get into conference play, we'll go on the road, conference opener, we beat Moorhead, and then lose 2 in a row at Minot and Marriott, both pretty close games, and then now we've won 7 in a row. So talk about that. Did you learn something from those 2 road contests? Because we'll also talk about the upcoming games here that you're going to go on the road for the next 2 weeks. The next 4 games are on the road. And then with the 7-game conference winning streak right now, it's pretty impressive, knocking off 2 ranked opponents this last weekend. Talk about the conference season so far, what we've seen, and I guess what we're looking forward to going on the road here. Rachel?
I think those first 2 losses is kind of maybe a little bit of a shock they were conference opponents and they're pretty solid teams, and it seems like we always struggle with them a little bit. And so, at least we stuck with them to kind of give us a learning experience and finishing the games. And then coming back and winning 7 in a row is huge for us, just to get our confidence up, especially after those 2 losses. So coming into these next 2 weekends, it's going to be a test, because playing on the road, like Sadie said, is always different. Your routine's different, and obviously you're playing in someone else's home court. So we need to be at our best to prove that we can do that as well.
Anything?
Being on the road this weekend twice isn't going to be easy, so we know that what we have to do to win. So
I'm curious on, everybody always wants to ask a Coach Fred question, but we talk about going on the road, food choices. Now where we eat, is that determined by, do you guys have a say in that? Now I know you travel with the men's team, so is it kind of a coordinated effort, or is there, what are we looking at here on the road for food choices?
We don't ever know. It's kind of like a guessing game for us when we play.
Yeah.
We always get food after the games, after the men's game even. And so as we're driving in the bus, it's kind of like, oh, maybe we'll go here. And then we drive by it. Oh, maybe we'll go here. So we never know. Coach Fred always decides.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, basically, let's talk about you guys a little bit now. Obviously, our viewers want to know about our athletes. Let's talk about hometown, your major, kind of career path that you're looking at. Obviously, you're both juniors, so are we on, track to graduate next May? I don't know, just kind of tell us about that a little bit. I guess, Mercedes, go ahead and start that off.
All right, I'm from Sioux Falls. I'm obviously a junior. My major is human performance and fitness with an emphasis on fitness administration, and I'm minoring in health. And I want to open my own facility for athletes to come in and train or manage one, whatever is easiest and happens, I guess.
Okay.
I'm actually a redshirt junior, so this is actually my 4th year. So I came in with Allison Kusler and Katrina Kerstead, so I've been here a while, it seems. But I'm a double major in elementary and special education. I also have an endorsement in coaching. After I graduate next May, I want to get a job in elementary education. I got the special ed just kind of to be more employable, but I like that as well. So I want to stay in the Aberdeen area after I graduate, and then hopefully move back to the Brookings area, because I'm from Elkton, which is like 15 miles from there, to be closer to family. So that's kind of what I plan on doing.
Okay. I think everybody, we always ask this question of, why Northern? Obviously you're both very, very good pieces to this team, very great players in your own right. What was the reason, that you came to Northern? What was that turning point for you?
I think a lot of people actually thought I was going to go to Augustana because my brother, Eric, had played there. But they didn't really show a lot of interest, and I didn't really want to follow in Eric's shadow. So Northern it's 2.5 hours from home, so it's really close. My parents get to a lot of the games, and I just like the campus. It's so friendly, it's so nice, it's beautiful here. The weather is pretty terrible sometimes in the winter, but it's South Dakota, so I love it here.
Same for me. It's pretty close to home. I'm only 3 hours away. My family can make it to all my games. They even travel to most of them. And like she said, the campus is friendly. Games are awesome. A lot of crowd. So.
All right. Well, we're going to try to put you on the spot a little bit here and kind of let our viewers know. Is it a fun fact? Is it a random fact? Kind of a hidden talent? Maybe that somebody, our viewers really don't know about you. So whichever one would like to lead that off.
I'll start. So my close friends know this. Rach, you might know this, but I don't know. It's a random fact. My left foot is bigger than my right foot by like half size, maybe a whole size.
Really?
Yes.
So, I mean, we've got to go into a little more detail on this. Are you able to get the same size shoe for both feet?
My right foot suffers most of the time, so it slides around a little bit, but I just buy the bigger shoe.
That is a good fact.
Yeah.
Good fun fact. Rachel, anything to follow on that?
Well, I can't really follow that up. But when I was younger, I took piano lessons, and so I guess I have a little bit of a musical ability. Not very good, but when I go home, I still love just kind of playing around on the piano, because we have the electric one, so you can play around with the sounds or whatnot. And so I play with my little niece sometimes, and it's kind of a fun stress reliever.
Very nice. Okay. Well, I think that's kind of essentially what we were going to talk about today. Obviously, we go on the road, as we said, for the next couple weeks. So good luck on the road there. And then January 31st and February 1st, the ladies are back at home in doubleheaders with the men, with Winona State on January 31st and Upper Iowa on February 1st. So, yep. Ladies, thank you very much for joining us today, and good luck on the road.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back with upcoming events.
NCAA championships are something special.
Filled with memories we will carry with us for the rest of our lives.
We ask that you cheer hard for your institutions.
Acting responsibly and courteously towards those around you.
In the spirit of sportsmanship, enjoy the game, and let's provide our student athletes, coaches, officials, and fellow fans the respect they deserve.
And welcome back to Tracking the Wolves. Now some women's basketball notes. On January 4th at the University of Sioux Falls, Allison Kusler surpassed the 1,000 career point mark, scoring 26 points in the effort. Kusler becomes the 29th member of the elite 1,000 point club in NSU program history. And now for the Qdoba Athletes of the Week. NSU junior women's basketball player Sadie Stotesbury and junior men's basketball player Seth Bashand have been named as Qdoba Scholar Athletes of the Week for their academic and athletic efforts last week. Stotesbury scored a season-high 18 points this past weekend in Northern's 61-59 victory over Concordia St. Paul. Stotesbury also notched her first double-double of the season as she picked up 13 rebounds in the game. Now in the two games this past weekend, she averaged 16 points, 11 rebounds, and 1 block per game, as Stotesbury was also named the NSIC Player of the Week, and a great honor for her. Seth Bashand played very well for the Wolves this past weekend. On Minnesota State Mankato, he was a perfect 4 for 4 from the field and from the free throw line, as he scored 12 points while bringing in 9 rebounds. Now the next night against Concordia St. Paul, Bashand also had 9 rebounds, as he also knocked in 14 points in the contest. In some upcoming events for the Wolves, both the men's and women's basketball team will be heading on the road here for the next 2 weeks as they head to Minnesota Crookston and Bemidji State this Friday and Saturday, January 17th and 18th. Game times are set for 6 and 8 on Friday night and 4 and 6 for Saturday night. On Saturday, the NSU track team will be hosting the NSU Open beginning at 10:30 in the Barnett Center. And the Wolves wrestling team will also return to action this Saturday as they travel to Nebraska-Kearney for the Nebraska-Kearney duels. The NSU swim team is also in action this week at the MSU Moorhead Dragon Invite on the 17th and 18th. That is it for upcoming events. We want to thank Coach Fredrickson for joining us today. We thank Mercedes Stotesbury and Rachel Krogman for joining us on the program as well. And go Wolves!